Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. This time we're going to be exploring something a little different, something pretty powerful. We're going to be diving deep into just a single chapter from a book, and it's about this young woman's senior year of high school. And I know you might be thinking senior year, okay, yeah, proms, parties, all the typical senior year stuff. But this story takes a very different turn. It's really about resilience and facing incredible challenges and finding a way to graduate from something much bigger than high school.
It's fascinating, isn't it? This chapter, A Graduation Gift for Life, really gets you thinking about what it actually means to graduate in the first place. It goes beyond just ceremonies and diplomas. It's about those really life-altering experiences and coming out on the other side even stronger.
Yeah, exactly. And this young woman's story is like the perfect example of that. So the chapter starts on graduation day, and I want you to just picture this. She's walking across that stage being helped by a friend, and the whole auditorium just erupts in this standing ovation.
Oh, absolutely. A real moment of triumph. But there's so many layers here. Remember, this isn't your typical graduation. Just a year before this moment, she was fighting for her life. She was so sick, she had been treated like a burn patient.
Wow.
That means a medically induced coma, extensive skin grafts, and just imagine months of grueling physical therapy just to relearn how to walk again.
So she spent most of her senior year with her shin bones exposed. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a contrast to the typical senior year. No proms, no parties, just hospitals and, a fight for survival.
And yet she graduates with honors. And she receives the headmaster's award. I mean, how did she do all this while battling such intense physical and emotional challenges?
Yeah, it really makes you think. There's this underlying tension in the chapter, this, on the one hand, pride and accomplishment, but on the other hand, this feeling of loss, for the normal senior year that she didn't have.
Yeah, I can see that.
It speaks to that universal desire for those milestones, those shared experiences that mark becoming an adult. And when those are disrupted, it can be hard to reconcile. I wonder if that fueled her determination to keep pushing forward.
That's a really interesting question. It does seem like she channeled that complex mix of emotions into something powerful, because instead of going to college after graduation, she decides to have a series of surgeries.
That's a bold move, right? Almost like starting her own personal university of life, I guess you could say. A new phase focused on separation and transformation and some intense physical challenges. And we should be clear, these surgeries weren't optional. The braces she needed after being sick, they actually caused deformities in her feet.
So these surgeries were about giving her back her mobility and her independence.
Exactly, and the way they did it was very innovative. But before we get to that, let's talk about how complex her situation was. Her skin was so fragile from the grafts, and finding a surgeon who was willing to take on such a risky case, well, it wasn't easy.
It's almost like a double graduation. Right?
Yeah.
She's graduating from high school, but also graduating from this extremely difficult time of illness and recovery.
Yeah.
And now she's choosing to take on another huge challenge.
I like that. You're right. It really emphasizes this theme of continuous growth and change that runs throughout the chapter. Graduation is not just an event. It's a series of transitions, of pushing your boundaries and embracing new phases in your life, even when those phases are full of risk and uncertainty. And it's amazing how they found a solution. It wasn't a foot surgeon, it was a hand surgeon, Dr. Hong. He saw the connection between the structures in the hand and the foot, and he proposed this totally new procedure, rerouting a single working muscle to give her foot its function back.
That's incredible. Talk about out-of-the-box thinking. What muscle did they end up using, and what did the surgery involve?
They used the tibialis posterior, it's a muscle in the lower leg, and the procedure was so carefully planned and executed. They had to detach the tendon, widen the space between the bones in her shin to make a clear path, drill a hole through a bone in her foot, and then secure the tendon using a button and a clamp. It's really a testament to how skilled and precise surgeons can be.
Wow, that's intense.
Uh-huh.
What was recovery like after all that?
Well, for 3 months, she couldn't put any weight on that foot at all while the bone healed. Can you imagine the patience that took? She had to rely on crutches and other people to help her, even with simple things. This must have really pushed her resilience to a whole new level.
It really does. She's dealing with these limitations and learning to depend on others and facing the emotional and mental challenges of a long recovery. It's amazing that she got through it.
And don't forget, it wasn't just physical. It was a mental and emotional journey, too. Think about it. She had to retrain her brain and her body to work with this new muscle setup, trying to walk again using muscle memory from her foot, even though those muscles were damaged, and then combine that with this new muscle. It's like learning a new language for movement.
It strikes me how this whole experience mirrors the idea of graduation we talked about before. Graduating high school, graduating from this difficult period of illness and recovery, and now going through another type of graduation with this surgery and rehabilitation. Every step forces her to learn, adapt, and go beyond what she thought she was capable of.
It's true. And it really shows that growth and transformation aren't a straight line. There are setbacks, challenges, moments when you doubt yourself. But it's in those moments when we keep going and embrace the discomfort that we find out how strong and adaptable we can be.
So after 3 months, she's finally able to walk again. What happens next?
This is where the real challenge starts learning to walk again with this new way her foot works. The source material doesn't give a lot of detail about this part of her journey, but it does say she was able to walk. It wasn't easy, it took time and effort. But she did it. And to her, that was a huge victory.
Yeah, it's like a second graduation, isn't it? This time graduating for that intense recovery phase,
Yeah.
starting a new chapter in her life.
Exactly. And the way the source material describes it is beautiful. It talks about the moment she throws her brace away as a symbolic graduation, a physical sign of her progress and resilience.
Oh, wow. Such a powerful image. You can feel the emotion, the freedom she must have felt getting her mobility back. But you mentioned earlier this was only the first surgery. She had another one to go on her left foot.
You're right. Even as she's celebrating this achievement, there's another one coming up.
I wonder what was going through her mind during those 3 weeks of walking without crutches, knowing she'd have to do it all again soon.
That's a good question. It shows just how complex her experience was. She's not just dealing with the physical recovery, but also the emotional and mental weight of facing another surgery, another round of intense rehab.
It makes her resilience even more remarkable. She's not just bouncing back, she's adapting. She's evolving. She's constantly moving forward.
Yeah, it really shows that this young woman's journey was about so much more than just her physical healing. It's about those inner struggles, those doubts and fears, and making the choice to keep moving forward. That's what's really inspiring.
I agree. And the way the chapter ends is interesting. It doesn't go into the details of the second surgery or what happened in her life later on, but you're left with this feeling of hope and possibility.
Yeah, like the chapter itself is a graduation of sorts, closing one chapter and starting a new one.
Right.
Get to see this incredible, challenging time in her life. But then it's up to us to imagine what she does next, the things she achieves, the dreams she chases. It's a powerful way to end it, don't you think? It makes us as readers think about the graduations we're going through, the challenges we're facing, and the possibilities that are ahead of us.
It makes me think about all the different ways we graduate throughout our lives.
Yeah.
It's not always about school or ceremonies. It's about those times when we step outside our comfort zones, confront our fears, and come out the other side stronger and wiser.
Exactly. And sometimes those graduations happen in the toughest circumstances, like what this young woman went through. But even when things are hard, there's this amazing ability to grow, to be resilient, to find a strength we never knew we had.
This whole deep dive has been about, hasn't it? This one chapter, this look into one person's experience has opened up this whole conversation about resilience transformation and what it really means to graduate from life's challenges.
And it's a conversation worth having. What stood out to you the most from this deep dive? What graduations are you working through in your own life?
Those are really great questions for you, our listener, to think about. What challenges have you overcome? What have you learned along the way? And how has what graduation means to you changed over time?
We hope this deep dive has inspired you to embrace your own path, celebrate your own graduations, and to find that strength and hope even when things get tough.
Thanks for being with us on this incredible deep dive. We'll be back soon to explore more fascinating stories that shape our world. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep graduating.